Hi everyone, Hadley here with Hillcrest Tennis, and today we are doing in the office live series. Today we're going to be talking about how to become a master of variety and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So first off, we're going to talk about being able to hit any variety of shot based on your position on the court. So in a lot of our lessons, we've been working on ball, hitting to certain targets so that we can make our opponents uncomfortable, because typically players don't move well when we move them 2 to 3 shots or 2 to 3 steps away from the middle of the court or from their position that they're currently in. So if you can, your job is to make your opponent uncomfortable. And so we want to be able to hit a variety of shots based on where we are on the court. So for example, if we're in the middle of the court, we want to be able to hit either a heavy, deep topspin ball, or we want to be able to drive the ball a little bit so that we have like a rally ball. So having that variety can really help change up the dynamic of the point. But if you're just one-dimensional player and all you can do is just hit hard up the middle and you're good for 1 or 2 shots, if you come up against a better player that can hang with that kind of that type of play, now you're a little bit of trouble. But if you're playing somebody that typically doesn't, they can't handle the power, that's okay. But what we're trying to help our players recognize that variety can be a benefit, can play a benefit to them. So, being able to adapt in certain situations. So if you have a player that chooses to hit the ball hard and then they throw in the heavy ball, if you think about if that's a player that you're playing, it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you not know what's going to happen next. So trying to have that mindset, because we'll have players come to us and I want to hit harder. I want to hit harder. They're hitting hard. Why can't I hit hard? And what I try to explain to them is power is not always the answer. Placement, to me, and depth serve a better purpose than power. And don't get me wrong, power has its place, and we've discussed this before. But really being able to have variety, in my professional opinion, is what helps us be a better player and all-around player. Okay, so then let's also talk about not letting your opponent determine on the shot that you're going to hit. So today I had a lesson with a member, and she was saying, well, I don't necessarily have a plan. If they take me wide on my forehand side, then of course I'm going to hit wide back. And so we were just talking about how having this variety and being able to hit certain shots in any situation, whether it's either a chip shot, short angle, or roll it cross court into the service box, or hit it deep, or hit it low, cross court and deep with slice, those kinds of things. So having different options and being comfortable hitting any one of those options in any of those situations. But when we let our opponent determine what shot we're going to hit, because that's the only shot that we have, that's when we get into trouble. And then we're not, again, make our opponent uncomfortable. They know what's coming back, instead of not knowing what is coming back, then creates doubt in your opponent's mind. So, okay. And then also, like I said before, being comfortable in uncomfortable positions on the court. And this goes back to a lesson that I had with another member yesterday, and we talked about kind of the mid-court swinging forehand shot that she didn't think she could hit because it wasn't allowed. And I said, of course it's allowed. And I just said, what better shot to hit, especially if you have somebody that's hitting a little bit higher, heavier ball, that you're having a hard time either taking it off the bounce or you're getting pushed back all the way back into the back fence. What better shot to hit than to take it out of the air, either as a volley or as a ground stroke? And to have that variation in her game can now give her the confidence to come forward. And also it's an approach shot, and it's taking time away from your opponent. And so it puts pressure on the person across the net. And also, if you're a person standing at the net and somebody takes that ball out of the air, that puts it instills a little bit of fear and a little bit of defensiveness from your opponent. So we as a tennis staff are really trying hard to help our members understand that their job is to make their opponents feel uncomfortable. And if they're not doing that, and if they're not instilling a little bit of doubt into your opponent, then we're not doing our job. So we really have to make sure that we are creating that variety and having that confidence to hit certain shots in various situations. And one of the other things that I think can really help be kind of the master of variety is being able to play both sides with confidence. So specifically if you're playing doubles. So, if you're playing with somebody that you typically don't play with, being able to say, no, I can confidently play for the ad or the deuce side really is the definition of a well-rounded tennis player. You can be strong on one specific side, but if you're just stuck on one side because that's all you can do, that's great, but it really limits limits who you can play with. And also, I think it's also an important skill to be able to be flexible and to be strong from both sides of that net of the court. And then one of the other things that we've kind of touched on here, but really having the variation in your shot selection. Being able to hit that heavy topspin deep ball to push your opponent back so that you can step in and hit that swinging volley, or, hitting the heavy loopy angle shot so that you can use that as an approach shot. You can use that to pull your opponent off the court, to open up the other side. Being able to drive the ball, that's an important thing. Drive the ball with power and deep and cross court. And then also the variation in your volleys. Tennis is not one-dimensional. There are so many different dimensions to it and so many different varieties. And that's what makes tennis such a great sport, is there's not one way to play it. And it's like a chess game. And if we can figure out certain patterns of play and certain tactics that work against certain players, that is truly how you become the master of variety and your ability to adapt to every situation that is handed to you on the court. And that's how that's how we elevate our tennis IQ. That's how we elevate our ability to play matches. And, we've been working a lot on rhythm hitting and just hitting to the same spot, deep cross court, because if we can't do it in practice, we can't do it in a match. And to expand our shot tolerance so that we're not serve and missed return or double fault, or, we want to be able to stay in the point beyond 4 balls, because remember, 75% of points are won before 4 balls are hit. So if we can be smart about our shot selection, if we can have that variety in our game, and if we can Create opportunities for us to stay in the point. That's when we can be successful. So I hope this helps. I hope it clarifies some things that we've been working on in clinics. Thanks so much for watching, and have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back next week.